So next up is adding in a phone.
Turn Bluetooth on from your device in order to search.
Looking for Seltos, pins match up. Do I want to allow contacts and favorites to sync up? I'm going to say no for now. Obviously, if this was your car, you'd want to do that, but I'm connected. Dial pad's there. You can see what's going on with my connection status along the bottom. So I've got the current status there. So it's straightforward using this. Now, if you go into setup, you can look at device connections. So if you had multiple devices connected, you could look to see what's currently connected there. You can have it connected for phone or for audio, mix and match if you want. Bluetooth prompts are available, so you can play mute. You can go into a privacy mode, but this is one of the big ones. So system, you can change the name of the vehicle. So if you want it to be Bob's Ride, Sally's Ride, whatever the case may be, that's where you're going in order to be able to change out the vehicle name. So it's just under your Bluetooth settings, and then you can set up a unique password if you want to. Phone projection settings, you can enable Android Auto or Apple CarPlay, and using split screen or not. So that is available. I just honestly recommend the full screen. It looks so much nicer. Speaking of which, let's set up CarPlay. So inside of this 10.25 inch screen, it is a wired connection. So you've just got to plug yourself into the data USB port. Opposite end of the cable, you're just plugging yourself in. And waiting there. Do I want to allow CarPlay while the phone is locked? Yes, you want to allow that, because if your phone is locked and you go to plug in, it may not actually work. So that's something you got to consider there. You just want to hit yes there. If you forget to press yes, I'll show you how to get to it in a second. Well, you're going to push CarPlay there, and look at that. This is why we go full screen. This is beautiful. Love it. Along the side, it's your current connection, what map application was open last, media, and then your miscellaneous app. This is going to be to your home screen or back to the icon view instead. Google Maps, Apple Maps, and Waze inside of Apple CarPlay you can use your finger to drag around, but there's no pinch to zoom capability. You have to use the plus or minus along the side there that way. Circle in back to yourself, change up the heading, search for destinations. Like I said, exact same thing with Google Maps. So Google Maps, you can search, you could look at route options for highways, toll roads, and ferries. Look at traffic, north, up, etc. And then Waze is the same idea. There we go. So you can see Waze connections, search for addresses, point out if there's something going on in your route. But there's so many different things you can use in this screen. Now, even though YouTube Music is supported, this screen doesn't support video playback whatsoever. One thing you can do on the Apple CarPlay side of things, if you press and hold the voice command prompt on the steering wheel, that's going to launch your Siri Assistant for you there. Very straightforward. And then getting back home, you can push the setup button along the very bottom, device connections if you want to. You can't change this because I'm currently plugged in. But if I unplug, projection settings, CarPlay, I want to show you what split screen looks like. It's not the prettiest thing, but it is available there as an option. So it's connecting through, give it a sec, and launch back into CarPlay. So, the split screen option, it is there. So it's kind of neat because you can kind of go up and down between different options there. So I personally prefer the full screen Apple CarPlay, but that one's a matter of preference. And if I just unplug to disconnect. But that's how you set up Apple CarPlay inside of the Seltos. Setting up an Android is the exact same process. So if you weren't on the screen, you wanted to add in a phone, easiest thing, just go to Setup, Device Connections, and then Add New.
Turn Bluetooth on from your device in order to search.
Looking for
select the name that matches vehicle name on the screen.
Seltos, and pins match up, so that's perfect. There we go. So connected. So it just connected to the Galaxy, but it's only connected for the audio. And that's one cool thing, because you can connect to both phones for audio, for music if you want to. You can kind of do a mix and match for one or the other. So if you wanted to have one phone for your phone, and if all of your audio is on the other, you can kind of do a mix and match that way. You can do a press and hold this way if you wanted to adjust who gets connection priority. So one big benefit there is that if you've got multiple phones connected to the vehicle, it's who gets connection priority first. On the phone, it's asking, do I want to allow access to contacts? I'm going to deny that. Same thing for messages when it pops up. But I'm fully connected there. So going back home, into phone. So you can see there, currently connected to the Samsung. Can go to this icon there along the very bottom. So it's straightforward using it. And it said unsuccessful because I said no. You can easily do a device swap this way if you want to. So you can easily change out the device that you're currently connected to. Very similar to the iPhone side, if you wanted to set up Android Auto, you're a wired connection there. So just down the center stack, plug it in the middle port. It is for the USB Type A port. And then plugging yourself in, Android Auto. Perfect. And there we go. Should be launching in. Look at that. Nice and simple. Beautiful. So you've got this little split screen. That's the Android Auto default. But if you hit the map icon along the top, it stretches you out to full screen. So good. Look at that. But one nice thing is that it is pinch to zoom capabilities in Android Auto versus it's not in Apple CarPlay. I love it. You can push the voice command prompt on the steering wheel if you wanted to activate your Google Assistant there. And then Google Maps, you've got a few options like looking at route options so you can tweak out so that you're avoiding motorways, toll roads, ferries, etc. Along the side, you've got Google Maps, your phone, Assistant. You can go to the split view or an icon view. But on your phone, if you select Android Auto, so you search for Android Auto, go into your settings, you can customize the launcher. So very similar to the iPhone side. If you prefer to have certain things up high, down low, you can just do a press and drag. But unlike the iPhone side of things, you actually have to restart Android Auto for any of the changes to take into effect. So it's not dynamic like what you saw on the iPhone side of things, but it's still straightforward using this thing. I love it. And then you can just simply disconnect if you wanted to. You could toggle Android Auto off. So in your setup screen, if you go to device connections and phone projection settings, you can enable or disable Android Auto and Apple CarPlay. So one of the big benefits there is like, let's say if you're, one of the big benefits is let's say if you want to be connected, but you don't actually want to use Android Auto or Apple CarPlay, you can just disable it simply that way if you'd like to. So a little bit of info there. The only other one would be deleting a phone, which is actually done through setup, device connections, and you've got both phones connected. Delete device, you can mark all, delete, yes. And a few seconds in and you're set to go. So it's that easy setting up Android and iPhone devices inside of the Seltos.